United Nations Conference 2022. A very good afternoon to you, sir, and we welcome you to YPS. It gives us immense pleasure to extend a warm welcome to Lieutenant General Bhupinder Singh, a highly decorated soldier and former Lieutenant Governor of Andaman and Nicobar Islands and Puducherry. Our sincere gratitude to you, sir, for taking time out to grace this occasion. Good afternoon, sir. It is a great honor for us to extend a gracious and a warm welcome to our Chairman, YPS Board of Governors, Raja Malvinder Singh. Sir, we thank you for being here with us on this momentous day. We feel privileged to welcome Professor Dr. G.S. Bajpai, Vice Chancellor, Rajiv Gandhi National University of Law. We extend a very cordial welcome to the esteemed members of the School Board of Governors, Mr. J.S. Gill, Colonel R.P.S. Brad, IOSA President, General T.P.S. Wadaj, Director, YPS Mohali, and Mr. Kamalveer Kang. A very warm welcome to Ms. Prabjot Kaur, Director Silver Fern, and her team. A very affable welcome to all IOSA executives, all our dear old Yadvindrians present here, distinguished guests, teacher escorts, school and individual delegates. We welcome and thank the members of the press and media for evincing interest in covering this grand event. Thank you to everyone for being a part of YPS MUN 2022. Your presence here means the world to us. Our sincere gratitude. Music gives a soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and life to everything. Sarva Mangalam Bhavatu Bhavatu Bhavatu. May tranquility be everywhere and in everyone. We present before you 23 of our talented Yadavindrians performing a beautiful amalgamation of this mantra of universal goodwill, goodness, peace, and love. In continuation to this, our budding singers will perform a Heer Beherav Rag. Introduced in 1940, according to musical folklore, the melody of the cowherd's cattle's tinkling bells is supposed to be behind this rag. As we perform both these rags, adapted from Pandit Ravi Shankarji's creation, auspiciousness we pray for, and blessings we seek from the Supreme Power.
magani sare re sa ni sare sa pa da pa sare sa ni sa 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 sare ga ga re sa ga ma pa pa magani sare re sa ni sare sa pa da pa sare sa ni sa 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 सर्वमङ्गलं भवतु 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 सर्वमङ्गलं भवतु 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 सर्वमङ्गलं भवतु 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 अलबेला साजन आयोरी अलबेला साजन आयोरी मोरा मन अति सुख पायोरी मोरा मन अति सुख पायोरी अलबेला साजन आयोरी अलबेला साजन आयोरी मंगल गावो चौक पुरावो मंगल गावो चौक पुरावो मन रंगी सुख पायोरी अलबेला साजन आयोरी अलबेला साजन आयोरी साजन आयोरी साजन दाना तेरे ना दाना दीम 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 दाना तेरे ना दाना दीम 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 उदे दाना तेरे ना दीम 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 उदे दाना तेरे ना दीम 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 दाना तेरे ना दाना दीम 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 दाना तेरे ना दाना दीम 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 सा 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 रे 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 रे नी सा दाना तेरे ना दाना दीम 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 दाना तेरे ना दाना दीम 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 दाना तेरे ना दाना सरे सरे गा रे गा मा दाना तेरे ना दाना सगरे सरे मा गा रे गा मा दाना तेरे ना दाना सगरे सरे मा गा रे गा मा गा मा दा मा पा रे दा पा दा नी दा नी दा नी दा नी दा पा दा मा दा मा मा दाना तेरे ना दाना दीम 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 दाना तेरे ना दाना सगरे मा मा नी दा नी दा मा गा रे सा मा 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 गा मा गा मा गा रे सा सरे सा पा पा सा नी सा दाना तेरे ना दाना दीम 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 दाना तेरे ना दाना दीम 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 दाना तेरे ना दाना तेरे ना दाना तेरे ना दाना दीम रे ना
Thank you, Yadavindrians. That indeed was a blessed start to the afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, the last 3 days have left an indelible mark on our hearts, ranging from partaking in sage conversations to inaugurating new alliances. The YPS MUN surpassed all expectations and helped us all take a step towards an ideal future as a community. a community of like-minded yet diverse students, a community of change catalysts. None of us shall forget the friendships that germinated here, or the discussions that helped us all comprehend the gravity of certain world affairs as a group. This event shall indubitably forever remain etched in our fond memories. It is our fervid wish that you take something away from these 3 days of incessant debating, problem solving, and intense policy analysis. We sincerely hope that you relished this MUN just as much as we did. Thank you for making this edition of the YPS MUN such an unforgettable one. Taking the ceremony forward, I now request our school director, Major General Sanjeev Verma, to kindly address the gathering.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At the very outset, sir, we are truly honored to have Mr. Manishankar Iyer with us and General Bhupinder with us here. And a special welcome to our chairman, sir, whose vision we carry forward whilst implementing all what we do in the school. Thank you so much, sir. A welcome to all the distinguished guests. And children, I am again back in front of you. As they say, as a head of a school, you have to Stevens talk every time. So I'm here again, but I won't take much of your time. I have followed the debates. I have followed the position papers you wrote, the resolutions. I truly applaud each one of you of the commendable work done. It was exceedingly good. What I did mention on the first day, that winning is not always important. At times we have to face failure and accept it. I know it's a cliche which all of you hear a number of times from your teachers, from your parents, and from your seniors. But remember, to win, to lose, to learn, to practice, it's a cyclic curve, and that is what helps you to grow into a good leader and achieve your goals. So therefore, please don't be disheartened if you've not been applauded for the various awards which were given to you today morning, and some shall be given today. Take it in your stride and strive to work for the better. I truly appreciate, whilst I did not visit all committee rooms, but I did see them on the CCTV and heard them. I truly appreciate your deliberations, your cooperation, and the teamwork. And more importantly, I must compliment the executive board for having it conducted meticulously with very little disturbances. Well done. Not to say the least, I was impressed by your negotiating skills and, more importantly, understanding the policies of the various countries you represented. And here I'd like to make one simple point. Remember, MUN builds in you a radical empathy. What is radical empathy? It is to step into another person's shoe and argue what he thinks. That develops radical empathy. You get a better understanding of a viewpoint of that other country. For instance, if you represented Germany, you were echoing the sentiments of what the German government wants or what the diplomacy is done by the Germans. So you have a radical empathy of understanding Germany so well that only as future leaders, as diplomats, you will understand that why radical empathy is important. Interacting with you all as my deputy head girl mentioned, I was truly impressed with your social skills. Your confidence in coming up and talking to the teachers or to me or to the other friends was commendable. The camaraderie I have to really appreciate. That, and as Ikisha mentioned, that this friendship which you built, please carry it forward. Friendship is what will make you will yearn for in later lives. And on a side, today whilst at lunch with our chief guest and with our chairman, the talk was all of friendship of Doon school days. After meeting for so many years, and just had to bring it out because it was so nice to hear this friendship take them into the years ahead. In the end, I would like you all to give a big hand to all my teachers who really worked hard to make this function a success. A round of applause. They worked hard, they did their best. I hope you were satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. "12 committees, various agendas, deliberations and resolutions. YPS MUN 2022 stood tall. To throw more light on the past 72 hours, I would now like to call upon Udayveer Singh Shergill to present the MUN report for the YPS MUN 2022.
Good afternoon, everyone. I, Udayveer Singh Shergill, Chief of Operations, present the YPS MUN report. When we decided to host an MUN to commemorate our 75th anniversary, we, from the outset, firmly believed that YPS MUN must stand tall and stand out. And it has truly been a pleasure to host all the wonderful delegates, teacher escorts, and our dear executive board members. And we hope that this conference was as enriching of an experience for you as it was for us. I now summarize the deliberations of the various committees that we hosted. In United Nations General Assembly, delegates hoped to mitigate terrorism with special focus on the Middle East. Its deliberation organically moved from ways to decrease international terror financing to the in-depth discussion of extremist ideology and its spread through the internet. The prime focus of the United Nations Security Council was to find ways to quickly end the war, failing to tackle the humanitarian crisis ensuing from the Russian-Ukraine events and the Russian-Ukraine war. The committee started with the members criticizing Russian and Belarusian actions. The committee reached a consensus with the Russians allowing Western aid to enter Ukraine, also suggesting the redevelopment of Donbass. The delegates of the World Trade Organization believed in the importance of increasing global free trade and discussed how an increasingly polarized world has created trade imbalances through confrontational tariffs and effects of such tariffs to developing countries. The committee tried to define a set of guiding principles to establish transparent global trade. The African Union had the job of reviewing Agenda 2063, in which Africa laid out their aspirations for the next few decades. The delegates talked about their individual countries' steps to achieve the agenda and the difficulties and challenges that they faced. The Organization of Islamic Countries had the task of improving the status of women in their respective nations. The delegates had to deal with the old Islamic scriptures, which hadn't moved ahead with time. The delegations decided of ways to reconcile the millennia-old Holy Quran and Hadith and their interpretation, on which laws of most Islamic states are based on with respect to change in practices of modern times. The All India political parties meet. This time was tasked with the contentious Uniform Civil Code and the conflicting guiding principles of the constitution surrounding it. The delegates were able to find majority consensus as most members, through the course of the committee, came over to the ruling party's proposal. La Casa de Papel, our experimental committee, based on the Netflix show Money Heist, had delegates undertaking a set of increasingly audacious heists while they role-played and represented the characters from the show. Indeed, a stimulating experience, with the delegates trying to find a mole amidst themselves, later escaping prison after being betrayed by one of their own. UNHRC, after intense debates centered on third generational inter-solidarity rights, the committee emerged victorious with one unanimous draft resolution and successfully looked beyond the framework of individual rights. UN Corpus, to relocate or not to relocate, that is the dilemma. After establishing presumptions about financial status of the masses and considering that all possessed the will to relocate to Mars, the delegates crafted a blueprint for humanity's quest to explore outer space. Questions regarding administration, economics, and public affairs were answered through great constructives. Lahore Session 1929 touched upon the nuances of the framed conference of 1929 and took us through the minute of the events that transpired during that fine December. It is important to look forward, but also venture back in time to understand our history. Special emphasis was laid on Bhagat Singh and his participation in the freedom struggle. The radicals and the moderates both justified their approaches, and that too with gusto. In the Sri Lankan ministerial cabinet, petroleum prices skyrocketed, political crisis sprung up, and several other issues tainted the Sri Lankan land. The delegates of this committee closely examined the policies of the nation to help it circle back to the road of progress. All the ministers came to a consensus and decided to redesign policies. The international press, on their toes throughout, the international press members monitored all the committees to report on their proceedings. Progress was recorded, points were duly noted, and conversations were supervised to provide the spectators with a perfect picture of YPS MUN 2022. Now, we present before you a closing video, a glimpse into the 3 days of YPS MUN.
for the sake of life and this beautiful living planet. I ask you to stand on the right side of history. The older generations, please help us.
We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you!
Ladies and gentlemen, we regret the inconvenience. Our chief guest for today's ceremony, Mr. Mani Shankar Iyer, an alumnus of Doon School and St. Stephen's College, Delhi University, is a postgraduate in economics from Trinity Hall, Cambridge. Sir started his career with Indian Foreign Services in 1963. During his course, he served in Brussels, Hanoi, Baghdad, and Karachi, besides various assignments in economic posts at the headquarters. For 4 years in late 80s, he was on deputation to the office of Prime Minister Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, following which he took voluntary retirement and embarked on a second career in politics and the media. With being thrice elected to the lower house of parliament from Tamil Nadu, he served a 6-year term in the upper house as the president's nominee and was conferred the Outstanding Parliamentary Award. A cabinet minister from 2004 to 2009, holding several different portfolios, he was also the Minister of Petroleum and Natural Gas for 3 years. After being named as the best minister in Dr. Manmohan Singh's cabinet in 2005, the Indian School of Mines credited him Doctorate of Science Honoris Causa. Presently, Sir is a chairperson of the Indian chapter of South Asia Foundation, established by UNESCO, which has branches in all 8 SAARC countries. Sir is one of India's leading columnists and is often seen on television. With 8 books, including Pakistan Papers and Confessions of a Secular Fundamentalist, to his credit, his autobiography is in an advanced stage of final editing. Being a staunch believer that secularism is the bonding adhesive of India's nationhood, he is the founder of Society for Secularism. It is a long list that enumerates the achievements of our highly accomplished guest. With such outstanding achievements to your credit, sir, it is an honor to have you preside over the closing ceremony of the 3rd edition of YPS MUN 2022. It is a true privilege to call Sir upon stage to give away the accolades that are the outcome of fruitful debate and discourse over the past 3 days. Sir, please. As we announce the names of the best delegates from each committee, I request them to come up on stage and receive the award. Sir, the delegates present here today would be honored beyond measure to receive these awards from you. We begin with UNGA. The committee over the past 3 days deliberated upon measures to counter terrorism in the Middle East. The Best Delegate Award for this committee goes to Kashish Sindhwani of Modern School, Barakhamba Road. De-escalation and deterrence of interstate conflict in light of the Russia-Ukraine war was the agenda for UNSC. The Best Delegate Award for this committee is awarded to Adya Gupta of Modern School, Barakhamba Road. Promotion of third generational solidarity rights with special emphasis on right to development and intergenerational solidarity was discussed in UNHRC in the past 72 hours. The award for Best Delegate goes to Anhad Pratap Singh of Delhi Public School, Jalandhar. The Committee of UN Corpus discussed the colonization of Mars and the allocation of resources. And for this committee, the Best Delegate Award is given to Arav Joshi of Vivek High School, Chandigarh. Discussing the plan of action for advancement of women was the agenda which Organization of Islamic Cooperation discussed. The Best Delegate Award is given to Ria Devika Bhasin of Modern School, Barakhamba Road. The African Union reviewed the implementation of Agenda 2063. Gurleen Kaur Bhatia of Holy Angel School, Rajpura is awarded the Best Delegate Award for this committee. Achieving the goals of the Paris Agreement was the agenda that was discussed in G20. Nikita Mittal of Modern School, Barakhamba Road is awarded the Best Delegate Award. The Lahore Session 1929 was a continuous crisis committee. The Best Delegate Award for this committee goes to Arav Kaushik of Vivek High School, Chandigarh. La Casa de Papel was a joint crisis committee. The Best Delegate Award for this committee goes to Dushant Pratap Singh of Delhi College, Indore. Discussion on the Uniform Civil Court Bill and the rise of communal violence in India was the agenda of AIPPM. For this committee, the Best Delegate Award goes to Arnav Singh of Alwar Public School, Rajasthan. Sri Lankan Ministerial Cabinet was a continuous crisis committee. For this committee, the best delegate was Arav Bajaj from Modern School Barakhamba Road. World Trade Organization discussed the impact of international relationships on world trading policies. The Best Delegate Award for this committee is awarded to Suvir Kalra from Modern School Barakhamba Road. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, we end the awards for Best Delegates. Now, we move on to the award for Best Team Effort and Best Delegation. Best Team Effort is the award that stands second in position to the Best Delegation Award. This award goes to Vivek High School, Chandigarh. The team consists of Shaurya Mittal, Arav Joshi, Jai Raj Singh Basur, Vansh Rana, Rudransh Rajput, and Arav Kaushik. The award for Best Delegation is awarded to the team with the highest number of individual prizes. This award for YPS MUN 2022 goes to Modern School Barakhamba Road. The team winning Best Delegation comprises of Kashish Sindhwani, Adya Gupta, Suvir Kalra, Prarthna Raheja, Tanya Shagotra, Ishan Tandon, Riya Devika Bhasin, Arav Bajaj, Nikita Mittal, Siddharth Saini, Aryan Pratap Singh, and the teacher escort, Mrs. Sonia Kapoor. Thank you, sir. I now request you to kindly address the gathering.
Mr. Principal, staff of the Yadavendra Public School, Chairman Malvinder Singh, ladies and gentlemen, and of course all my young friends gathered here. I did warn the principal that I generally need about 15 minutes to clear my throat, but he has suggested that within 15 minutes I conclude my speech, so I'll try and do it, and would request Malvinder, sitting in the front row, to signal me if I go on too long. While thinking about what I should talk to you about, it occurred to me that during the last 3 or 4 days, you have been discussing the world as it is in 2022. But by the time you are all, I'm talking to the young people here, by the time all of you are able to do something about it, instead of simply debating it or discussing it, we're likely to be in about the middle of the 21st century. So what would the world look like then? And what would your principal challenges be? I thought perhaps I could cover that point in the 15 minutes that have been allotted to me. It seems to me that by the time we get to the middle of this century, India, which is today the world's 5th largest economy, would have perhaps become the 3rd or possibly even the 2nd largest economy. At the same time, our position on the UN Human Development Index, where we have been stagnating at approximately 130 for the last 30 years, is unlikely to have improved very much. We may have gone up from 130 to 120, maybe 110. But the chances are that even though we would be a very big economy in gross terms, in per capita terms, we are likely to be among the less developed countries of this world. And therefore, we have to ask ourselves, how would we use the power that would come to us by being the 2nd or 3rd largest economy in the world? Would we be using it as the 2nd and 3rd largest economies have been using it in the last 75 years or so, since the end of the Second World War, when the United Nations was established? Or will we bring a new perspective to bear on how the world should be run? At the moment, power is intended to establish control over others. Power is intended to show that you are the hegemon. You are the one to whom answers will have to be given, failing which your own future is in grave danger. And therefore, might has been pitted against might. And the interesting conclusion is that whereas through all of history, until 1945, it was the stronger military power that prevailed, in the last 75 years or so, we have had the curious phenomenon of mostly the weaker military power prevailing over the larger military power. And this has been because whereas the larger military power represents domination over the weaker and the smaller and the weaker represent the determination to fight for their own liberty, to fight for their own rights. We are most recently seeing this between Russia and Ukraine. If you compare the relative strengths of Russia and Ukraine, it is approximately equal to India and the Maldives. And the lesson I think we need to learn from that is that if we treat the Maldives like Russia is treating the Ukraine, we are likely to end up as the defeated giant. The Americans went through this in Vietnam, where I had the fortune of serving during the war. And then both the Russians and the Americans went through this in Afghanistan, which is on almost any index the poorest country in the world, the least organized country in the world, the most disintegrated society in the world. And yet, it has defeated not one, but two superpowers. So what is the lesson that your generation of Indians should learn from this? That you are going to be in a position to be G3 or G4 in the G20. You can use the economic power and the political power that flows from it, as well as the military power, to strut the world like a Caesar and try to rule over others and punish those who don't agree with you and reward only those who are with you. But if the history of the last 75 years is going to be repeated over the next 75 years, should your generation do what I've just described, the loser is likely to be India. For India to be the winner, it has to use its burgeoning power for the good of humanity. There is no point in the Americans putting together a coalition of the willing to invade a tiny little country like Iraq. What have they got out of it? What have they got out of bullying Iran for all these years? What did the British get out of the horrors they perpetrated in Kenya? What did the French get out of the horrors they perpetrated in Algeria? Well, it was the British and the French who had to go home. When I was posted in Vietnam, there was an American author called Mary McCarthy who wrote a tiny little book called Vietnam, in which she says, Charlie can say, Yankee, go home. But Yankee can't say, Charlie, go home, because Charlie's home already. So the fact is that in the last 75 years, we have seen that nationalism and self-respect have been far more influential than economic strength or military power. And it was Mahatma Gandhi who discovered this for us back nearly, in fact, a little more than 100 years ago. And he learned the lesson, or he preached the lesson first, very close to Patiala in Amritsar at the time of Jallianwala Bagh, when he cocked his snook at the imperial power and told them that your political strength doesn't matter. Your economic power doesn't matter. Your military muscle doesn't matter. We are going to stand up for the truth, and the truth will prevail. And what happened? When he first said this, a lot of people outside India said he was talking rubbish. In India itself, it took a few years for the truth to dawn on the Indian people that in fact Gandhi was suggesting a weapon against which there is no shield. And what was that weapon? It's the willingness to sacrifice yourself for a larger cause. When he was hailed before the district sessions judge in Ahmedabad in 1922. He answered the judge's questions and then said that I have been brought before this court under the Sedition Act, and I want to plead guilty to having broken the sedition laws. But I also want to say that I broke the sedition laws because they were unjust laws. So my plea before this court is to give me the most stringent punishment available under the sedition law. I'll take it on the chin, but I will not budge from my position that this sedition law is an unjust law. It is against Satya, truth, and it is full of violence against my own advocacy of nonviolence. And who won in the end? I remember when I was at school, there was a cartoon by a very well-known British cartoonist in one of the British papers. The argument in 1957 in England was over whether Britain should or not acquire the atom bomb. And the defense minister of Britain, Nye Bevan, had said that if I walk into the conference room without the bomb, I'll feel naked. And the cartoonist had Mahatma Gandhi's ghost telling Nye Bevan that I walked into the conference room naked, Nye, and I won. So I think if your generation is going to enjoy the benefit denied to our generation of being one of the greatest world powers, you have to reflect even today over how you are going to use that power. Are you going to use it for the promotion of Indian hegemony, for us to have a blue water navy and an air force that can go to Guyana and bomb the people there, to have an army which stands up to the Chinese? Yeah, perhaps we'll need all these things, and they'll automatically come along with our becoming an economic superpower. But to what end are you using all this? The world has shown again and again that empires rise, but almost inevitably they fall. And why do they fall? Because there is no sword to which a shield cannot be found, and no shield which cannot be penetrated by a superior sword. So this endless cycle of violence leading to violence, leading to more violence, leading to yet more violence, might of course end with somebody or the other in the ring being held up to be the winner. But in the end, everybody loses. And of course, today, as you have, I find from your discussions, been talking here, there's the nuclear weapon. Should it be used at all? Should there even be talk of using it, as we have recently heard in 2022? It'll take no time at all for all of us to be blown up. I was asked why I opposed India becoming a nuclear weapon power. It's a matter of pride, I imagine, for almost everyone, young or old, sitting in this audience, that India is a nuclear weapon power. But what on earth are we going to do with this bomb? If it were dropped, somebody were to lunatically carry an atom bomb with him or a hydrogen bomb and press a remote, and Lahore station blows up, it'll be 8 seconds exactly, if the winds are right or if the winds are wrong, for the radiation to reach Amritsar. And perhaps 2 or 3 days before it reached Patiala, and certainly it would be in Delhi within a week. So who wins? when everybody else loses. So therefore, while it is the duty of your generation, I'm looking now beyond the first few rows at the young people who've been attending this MUN, looking at you and saying that you are going to inherit a very different India to the India which we were born into and which we inherited. We were a developing country. We were a non-aligned country. We were a poor country. We suffered all kinds of diseases, malnutrition, that happily you're not going to have to encounter. But we learnt our place in the world thanks to leaders like Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who started the non-aligned movement with one member, India. And he said, Aklo chalo re, let's just move on. And by the time Indira Gandhi became Prime Minister, and the non-aligned summit was held in Delhi in 1982, two-thirds of the world, two-thirds of the member nations of the United Nations were in the movement and at the conference in Delhi. So that is what we've accomplished. We were the first country in history to get rid of a military power of unprecedented strength by the use of nonviolence. We were a country that did not matter until it resorted to non-alignment, and the result was that only India could be found to resolve issues in Korea after the Korean War, in Indochina after the Indo-Chinese War. But what have we become today? What has my generation done? Well, we're quarreling with Pakistan, we're quarreling with China, we are thumping our chests and saying that we are now the fifth economic power and soon we'll be the third. We're boasting that we've overtaken the United Kingdom and keeping quiet about the fact that the population of the United Kingdom is 60 million people and we are 1.60 billion people. And therefore our living standards are much, much, much inferior to what prevails in London or anywhere in the United Kingdom. So in these circumstances, when your generation comes to power, and it'll come to real power, you'll have to make moral choices about what to do with that power. And if you go back to the history of India, go back to 1929, go back further, a decade to 1919, you'll start learning the lessons as to what it is that made India great when we were nothing, and how we could end up as a dead nation if we use the power coming our way in a wrong manner, in a non-Gandhian manner. I'm sure you will live up to the expectations I have placed before you, but only if you think about it. If your values are right by the time you go to college, I have no doubt that you will take India to a glorious future. But if your values are twisted now, then there's very little hope for India to be able to use its coming power in an intelligent, sensible, sensitive, tolerant, and secular way. Thank you, my young friends. I'm sure you will do much better than we have succeeded in doing. I have great faith in all of you, and it was such a pleasure to meet so many of the most brilliant representatives of your generation on the stage just now. I particularly asked the young lady who came first in the Organization of Islamic Countries to let me know how I could contact her. because I felt that it is only if we understand each other instead of constantly quarreling with each other or denigrating other religions, other peoples, that we can truly find our civilizational genius. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, your valuable words are an eye-opener for us young minds. We understood today that the attainment of power should not make us use it to gain supremacy. It won't help the nation grow in the right direction. And we promise to make India we inherit a nation that the world will be proud of. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a matter of immense pride to share that this year marks the 75th anniversary of our esteemed institution, and we are elated to be celebrating this occasion with a wide array of activities and events, this Model UN being one of them. YPS prides itself on being one of the top-rung ICSE institutions, providing its students with unparalleled opportunities to polish their skills and abilities. At YPS, our holistic education extends beyond the confines of the classroom, and we acknowledge that students' skills and abilities range from the field to the stage and beyond. Showcasing a glimpse of the immense talent that YPS holds and fosters, we present the YPS Rock Band. The band shall perform a 50s guitar instrumental piece, Pipeline by the Ventures. Following that, we have the iconic hard rock song Smells Like Teen Spirit by the heartthrob Nirvana. Contiguous with it is a concoction of funk rock and indie pop, Beggin' by Maneskin. Lastly, the grand finale would be a performance of We Will Rock You by the riveting band Queen. We would like to mention that on this song, we have our Class 11 student adding beatboxing to the orchestra. The budding musicians from classes 7th and above, comprising the YPS Rock Band, have put in their heart and soul to present an electrifying performance of their talent. Ladies and gentlemen, as the curtains are being drawn, we assure you, for the next 10 minutes, you won't be able to resist tapping your foot to the beat of the drums. Presenting the YPS Rock Band. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed this performance. But this is not the end. There is yet more to come. Next on our list is a performance that represents the liveliness and dynamism of the people of Punjab, a testament to their vivacious and evergreen spirit, a performance that will add all the colors, all the energy, and all the enthusiasm to today's ceremony. 8 of our enigmatic girls, dressed in their traditional best, present the happiness of Punjab, Bhangra.
ਕਰਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਇਹਦੀ ਸਜਰੀ ਸਵੇਰ ਤੇ ਬੁੱਲੇ ਸ਼ਾਹ ਦੇ ਕਲਾਮ ਦੀ ਕੀ ਸਿਫਤ ਕਰਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੀ ਇਹਦੀ ਸਜਰੀ ਸਵੇਰ ਤੇ ਬੁੱਲੇ ਸ਼ਾਹ ਦੇ ਕਲਾਮ ਦੀ ਲੋਕ ਸਾਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੇ ਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਨੱਚਦੇ ਟੱਪਦੇ ਗੱਭਰੂਆਂ ਦੀ ਹੁਸਨ ਸੁਹੱਪਣ ਭੰਗੜਾ ਪਾਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਮੁਟਿਆਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਆਓ ਰੰਗ ਮਾਣਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਨਾਚ ਭੰਗੜੇ ਦਾ
बैठा होवे जे शानायत अगे बुला करके हार श्रृंगार नचे पत्थर पिघल के क्यों ना सामने यार ਅੱਗੇ ਬੁੱਲੇ ਦੇ ਕਈ
Thank you, girls, for that mesmerizing performance. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest of honor for today, Lieutenant General Bhupinder Singh, has had a distinguished career in the Army, which saw him participating in the 1965 and 1971 Indo-Pak Wars and counter-insurgency operations in J&K and Northeast. He was posted as a diplomat and has also served as the military secretary to Presidents of India, Shri K.R. Narayan and Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. Later, he served as the Director General of Military Training, responsible for all training institutions, establishments, and academies of the Indian Army. Post-retirement from Army, he was appointed as the Lieutenant Governor of Andaman and Nicobar Islands and Puducherry for over 6 years. Currently, he is a prolific columnist for leading journals with over 700 published articles. He has authored 2 widely appreciated chronicles, Bayoneting with Opinions and Continuing Opinions in Difficult Times. He contributes regularly to various publications all across the globe, both digital and print. Sir, your presence here is an inspiration to all of us. I request you to kindly speak a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone here. And thank you for your very gracious and generous words of introduction. My greetings and felicitations for this lovely function to the Director, General Verma, organizers, staff, students, and the justifiably proud family members of the students present here this afternoon, as also to my co-guest and distinguished diplomat, politician, and a man of letters, Shri Mani Shankar Iyer ji. Before I talk on the UN part of it, I saw such lovely music performances here, and I was reminded of the old saying that music was born in Bengal, brought up in UP, died in Punjab, and buried in Haryana. So my sense of music finishes with my burial ground. But it was a lovely performance. I must congratulate everyone. Now, it could be argued that generals do not make the ideal template for anything to do with an event related to the United Nations. And very often than not, it has been rather vain and illiberal men in militaristic garbs and vainglorious medallions on the uniform who have been responsible for a lot of violence in the world. But ladies and gentlemen, that is just a lot of bad press also. I will have to take it on my chin. It is sometimes difficult to defend some from the uniformed fraternity across the globe, just as is the case perhaps with some of the unhinged politicians or diplomats. Actually, the wise men who did conceptualize and stitch the idea of United Nations and instilled a semblance of perpetuity into that idea were folk from militaristic background, like President Truman, later President Eisenhower, whom we call as Ike, the incorrigible Winston Churchill, flamboyant Charles de Gaulle, the rather sour-looking Joseph Stalin. I also had, there's so many more, I also had my own experience with some of these real McCoys, or I call them the African cowboys in Africa, when I was posted in Addis Ababa, the headquarters of the OAU, and we had great people there. In Ethiopia itself, we had Colonel Mengistu Haile Mariam, and then we had Colonel Gaddafi from Libya, Captain Thomas Sankara from Burkina Faso, Flight Lieutenant Rawlings from Ghana, and so many more. As a matter of fact, I must tell you an interesting account. When I went to officially call on the President, Colonel Mengistu Haile Mariam, and he tells me, he says, Colonel, do you know anyone by the name of General Raleigh from Indian Army? I said, yes, sir. Excellency, I do know him. He said, do you know he set up the first academy here in Ethiopia, our defense academy? I said, yes, Excellency. He says, well, when you go back and tell him this, that he had withdrawn 10 cadets from the academy for lacking in officer-like qualities, and he was one of them. 10 of them were thrown out from the military academy, and he says, now go and please tell him on my behalf that, look, we were unfit to become officers, but we are fit to be presidents and ministers in the present government. So anyway, those were the kind of people one was dealing with them. Now coming back to the United Nations, the naming of the institution as the United Nations itself has a rather funny story, with Roosevelt and Churchill mulling over the possible naming options of such a multilateral platform. it is believed that Roosevelt, apparently having a sudden flash of brilliance, with which he is believed to have dashed to Churchill's room, they were staying in a hotel together, and he went there and to find spectacularly, in a very different position, unclothed and naked Churchill opened the door. And when Churchill heard this United Nations from an excited Roosevelt, suddenly the awkwardness of the situation is believed to have dawned on Roosevelt, who was then charmingly assured by Churchill, the master with words, and he said, the British Prime Minister had nothing to hide from the US President. So, over the 77 years since the formal inception of the UN, it is easy to rattle out its missteps, failures, and inefficiencies, yet it remains, without doubt, a noble idea, worth pursuing, worth persisting, and above all, it has no other alternative. I repeat, for good measure, there is no other alternative. I will not counter-offer its successes, but will only state that it remains the only place where hostile neighbors and enemies still talk the language of peace, reconciliation, and international law. And just that is so much better for the future than persisting with war. And trust me, ladies and gentlemen, professional soldiers know the consequences of war and laws of life. None, better than anyone else. Even today, it remains the only place where a Russian and a Ukrainian argue their respective positions, an Indian or a Pakistani or a Chinese hold on their own, and so forth. Without such an institution in place, this world would be infinitely poorer, suspicious, and a decidedly more hostile place to live in. India has historically had a stellar record of contributing to the discourse and evolution of the idea of moral and international justice at the United Nations, as also contributing to what we call the blue helmets of the Indian Army participating in UN missions. Interestingly, I believe the Director, General Verma, he has served in the UN mission at Congo with distinction. I am therefore even more excited to see the enthusiasm of students in Model United Nations and its ability to transform young minds to think bigger, more diverse, and much better. I'm delighted today on another account. My youngest granddaughter, who is in class 11 in Delhi's modern school, Barakhamba, she will be delighted when I tell her that her school has bagged all the prizes here in this thing. I'm going to send her the photograph with all the prize winners from here. So I believe that the utility and efficacy of this kind of function is very good in early stage of life. I said, let me just, whenever I get an opportunity to interact with my young friends, I do take some time off to just share with you some personal experiences, because enough of you, and for the time being, let's talk something else. The first and foremost thing, most of you are in class 11 and 12, and you're going to pass out. My request to the parents and to the children are, please firm up your ideas. Now, it's time to sort of think what you want to do in life, right? I give you my own example. I, by mistake, got some good marks in my school examination. So my dad thought I was a brilliant child, which I wasn't in actual fact. He put me in the medical stream, and I didn't know how to get out of that. So a friend told me, he says, you do something. I'll tell you how to cut a frog. It'll be all blood in the tray there. So I cut that artery, there's total blood, and the teacher came and said, you butcher, get out of the school. You'll never make it to a doctor. That I was delighted, absolutely. By the time I took the ND examination, I was able to get through to that thing. So my medical line was off. So what I'm trying to put across is that for my young friends, please tell your parents, be honest enough to tell them that this is what you want. I can tell you there are graduates from IIMs, IITs who are chefs, who practice other debates. I, as a Lieutenant Governor, I had deputy commissioners with me from the IAS who were actually specialists from medical. They were doctors. I said, why the hell did you spoil a seat of another guy? Why did you come to IAS? But that was the way. They wanted, they said, number अच्छे मिल जाते हैं, तो उस तरह जाते हैं. But that is sad. That is what should not be there. The second, I will tell my young friends is, I'll share another experience. I was being interviewed a few days back by Major Ali Shah. You must have seen him on television. He said, sir, I believe you are a very naughty child in school and all that. Can you tell us something about that? I said, yes, I'll tell you. So I told him of an event which happened in 1954. When I was in school, I think standard 4th or 5th, I don't recall. And my class fellow, a very funny guy, Jalal Aga, he was an actor, his father also famous old actor Aga. So Jalal and me were sitting together. I don't know from where he got two squirrels, you know. Ugler he got, Ugler क्या बोलते हैं उसको, काटू काटू क्या बोलते हैं. So he got those two things. And then we were not interested in that subject, right? So we were playing. And the teacher, Mr. Oliver, he says, get up. We both got up and he made us in that murga position and we were on the desk. And he says, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. Now, half the period was over. So, बाकी बच्चे तो सब पढ़ रहे थे. We both were discussing अब कल का क्या होगा. How to plan for tomorrow's thing, you know. So he was telling me everything. We were mumbling to each other. Anyway, the class got over. Next morning, in the evening, he came to me and said, यार, I got a brilliant idea. I said, क्या? ऐसे करेंगे हम notebooks बांध देंगे अपने पीछे, उसके ऊपर shorts डाल देंगे. So when he canes us, कुछ impact कम हो जाएगा. So I said, it's a brilliant idea. So हमने वो बांध के shorts. Next morning, we walked into his room. So naturally he saw us and he must have felt कि कुछ तो गड़बड़ है. Their backs are protruding too much. So, so he says, अच्छा, smart kid, he says, come on, take off everything under the belt. So we were stripped there, both of us, given the solid wax. और भाई उस ज़माने में ना, you couldn't crib to your parents कि भाई teacher ने मारा ये करा, because my Fauji father would tell him कि give him 4 more as a compliment from my side. So we never complained. We had no problems. So we got the beating from him, but it's all right. We took it. So, you know, that kind of a healthy mischief was always allowed, and that should be done. Otherwise, if you keep playing with your laptops and mobiles all the time, you will never think on such good things in life, right? The other thing I want to tell you is, please cultivate the habit of reading. This, unfortunately, I'm saying it because I've seen in my own career that we don't read, army officers don't read. She just mentioned that I've written over 700 articles in the print and the other media. So I suggest you can go. I got the first 200 published in form of books because my Fauji brothers told me, he says, यार तू हर रोज लिखता रहता है, time नहीं हमारे पढ़ने के लिए, किताब बना के हमको दे दो. I knew that kitab will never be opened. So किताबें मैंने उनको दे दी, but that was the end of it. So now I told them, देखो, it's on the Facebook, it's an open account. Anyone, all the children can go on that, read that. There are more than 700 articles in that from different newspapers and print media and electronic media. So please be morally and this thing strong enough. Now, another incident I must tell you, that you must be morally upright and strong. I was with President K.R. Narayana as the military secretary, and Ayarji mentioned about a country. So that country's head had come there. So hota kya hai कि दरबार hall में everybody is standing there and the national anthems are played, and then the VIP goes and meets everybody there who are all there. Now when the national anthem was being played for this gentleman, and suddenly he turned red and blue, he was getting very upset. So the Prime Minister, Mr. Vajpayee, and other people, they were getting, okay, something has gone wrong. So Narayana, a seasoned diplomat who had seen a lot of things, he called me inside. He said, कुछ गड़बड़ है? मैंने कहा, गड़बड़ तो कुछ है. The fact that he's feeling so uneasy. The problem क्या हुआ था कि the band was playing the national anthem of that country when that country was under the French occupation. So it was like playing a Pakistani national anthem when playing for India. Obviously, he was furious. He was very upset. I mean, I could have, so if it was a military environment, I would have been told to get out and be sacked straight away. But knowing President Narayana, he took me aside. He says, कुछ है हमारे पास ठीक करने को. मैंने कहा, सर कैसेट है जो actually anthem का. अच्छा कहता, when we have the official dinner, उस time I raised a toast, तुम वो बजा देना. Which is against all protocol. It was not done. So he raised a toast and हमने वो anthem बजा दिया. Now I could see some smile on that gentleman. थोड़ा सा खुश हुआ. But it was President Narayana who could handle it. You know, he was a diplomat, he was an ambassador in States, ambassador in China. So these are the people you work with and you learn so much from these people. But the point I'm trying to draw here is that please be morally upright. Galti ho gaya to ho gaya. So I walked up to him the next day and said, sir, I let you down. Please throw me out from your Rashtrapati Bhavan. He looked at me, he says, it's not your fault. I said, no, sir, it is my fault because I take the credit when everything goes right. I take the blame when something has gone wrong. He says, well, there is a colonel, there is a brigadier, there are so many other people. I said, no, sir. But I tell you the sentence he said. He says, son, listen, remember, when you work, you are bound to make mistakes. If you don't work, you will make no mistakes. Look at the greatness of these people, right? He said, go and work now. So the basic point is that you must have the ability to be upright and accept the mistakes. Galti ho gaya, so what? It always happens. Now, all right, I will not take, I think one day I'll request the director to give me some time. I'll share a lot of personal experiences, a lot of fun with all the children sometimes. I can't take time now. And I just want to thank you all for this lovely event. and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors, whatever you become, diplomats, statesmen, policymakers. And incidentally, remember that the YPS crest of Vidya, Vinay and Virta, or valor and humility through knowledge, is just the perfect parallel nobility of thought that conflates with and underlies a multilateral institution like UN and its workings. So keep up that Vidya, Vinay and Virta. All the very best. God bless. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, your spoken words made us remember our honorable founder's vision, where Sir entrusted on us the responsibility of this nation, as he visualized us to be the future citizens of this country. And sir, it gave us delight to hear your anecdotes, which, spoken in such simple, understandable language, were relatable even to us. They generated so many smiles and added to the happiness quotient of the audience. We thank you, sir. I now request our school director to kindly present a token of gratitude and respect to our guests. We request Mr. Manishankar Iyer, sir, to kindly accept a token of our gratitude and remembrance. We request Lieutenant General Bhupinder Singh to please accept a token of our respect. We sincerely request Dr. G.S. Bajpai, sir, to please accept our token of respect. We request Director Silver Fern, Ms. Prabjot Kaur, to please accept a token of our gratitude. Thank you so much. I now call upon Sarvagya Dev Thaplyal, the Secretary General, YPS MUN 2022, to declare the conference closed.
By the power vested in me, I, Sarvagya Dev Thaplyal, Secretary General, YPS MUN 2022, declare the conference closed.
Concluding today's ceremony, I call upon Nimar Sidhu to propose a vote of thanks.
To our dear audience, I just have to say thank you. Thank you to each and everyone present here. Thank you, because without your presence, the MUN would have pronounced deficient. Thank you, because we at YPS believe that gratitude felt should be expressed. Good afternoon to the august gathering. I, Nimar Sidhu, the Chief of Staff, rise on behalf of the Organizing Committee for the YPS MUN 2022 to propose a vote of thanks. First and foremost, our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Manishankar Iyer, sir, for taking time out to honor us with his revered presence. Sir, your presence has been an immense source of inspiration for all of us. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to Lieutenant General Bhupinder Singh, sir, for embellishing this event by being present here. We extend our sincere thanks to Honorable Chairman Raja Malvinder Singh Sir and esteemed members of the School Board of Governors. Sir, your presence always comes to us in the shape of motivation, a force that drives us to orchestrate any event in the best shape possible. We are immensely grateful to all the dignitaries and distinguished guests for being a part of this grand event. We would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to all the teacher escorts. We hope you had a wonderful stay. Dear EBs, for all the 13 committees, without you, the conference would not have been possible. And to our delegates, we hope you will be instrumental in implementing what you've learned. A special thanks to IOSA, our old students' body, for always setting a precedence of excellence before us. We Yadvindrians always look up to our old Yadvindrians for guidance and support. And to our school director, thank you, sir, for believing in us and our capabilities, for supporting us, for guiding us, for standing with us and for us. This event would not have been possible without you, sir. Thank you to Silver Fern for all their support. And our thanks to the members of press and media for providing coverage to the YPS MUN 2022. Our sincere gratitude to all the teachers for their support and for them being there for us at all times. A big thank you to all the Yadvindrians comprising the organizing committee of the YPS MUN 2022. On a concluding note, dear audience, your presence has augmented the grandeur of this event. Thank you ever so much. May I now request everyone to rise for the national anthem.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा रावण उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जल की तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाता जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
We will be honored to have you join us for a cup of tea in our front lawns. The delegates to the extreme right to use the left exits to move out, and the others to use the back exits. Thank you and good afternoon.
Dear audience, a wallet has been found. If anyone has lost their wallet, they can contact the Secretariat.